Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Brilliant as the Sun, a retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, the Universal Order. We are going to be reading from chapter 22, Motion of the Planets. Mukam Karoti Vachalam, Pangum Langhete Girim, Dhripatamam Vande, Shri Gurum Dinatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram, Hari Om Tat Sat. Verse 1. Parikshit said, My dear master, you said that during its orbit the sun keeps Dhruvalok and Mount Sumeru on its right. Then again, you said the sun keeps Sumeru on its left. This seems contradictory. How is it possible for the sun to keep Sumeru and Dhruvalok both on its left and right simultaneously? Verse 2. Consider this example, said Shukadev. When a potter's wheel rotates with ants moving on its surface, the ants will turn with the wheel and also move in relation to it. In the same way, the sun and planets rotate clockwise with the wheel of time around Meru and Dhruvalok, keeping them on their right. Just as you can see the ants in different places on the potter's wheel, so we can see the sun and planets in different parts of the zodiac, indicating their movement in relation to the wheel of time. This movement is in counterclockwise direction, and hence Meru and Dhruvalok are on their left. Parikshit closed his eyes, trying to envision what Shukadev had said. He knew that the sun's motion through the cosmos was a little slower than the constellations or zodiac. That would produce a backward motion in relation to them. And in respect of that movement, Meru and Dhruva are on the sun's left. Verses 3 and 4, Shukadev continued, Lord Narayan is the original cause of the cosmos. In response to the prayers of learned sages, he descended as the sun to benefit the planets. He divided himself into 12 forms corresponding to the 12 signs of the zodiac, and thus created the 6 seasons beginning with the spring. By following their Varnashram duties and worshipping Surya Narayan with appropriate Vedic rituals, sacrifice and the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, men easily attain life's highest goal. Verses 5 to 7, the sun god, the soul of the worlds, sits in outer space between heaven and earth. He assumes 12 names according to the zodiac sign through which he is passing. Those 12 zodiac months combined are one samvatsar or year. Those 12 months combined are one samvatsar or a year. The 2 fortnights of the waxing and waning moon, which are day and night for the Pitris or ascended forefathers, form one lunar month. During this period, the sun passes through 2 1/4 constellations, and 2 of these lunar months are one season. The time taken for the sun to move through half the zodiac 6 months is an ayan. The sun god has 3 speeds, slow, fast, and moderate. He proceeds at these speeds in a cycle of 5 years, which sages call Samvatsar, Parivatsar, Idavatsar, Anuvatsar, and Vatsara. So Samvatsara, Parivatsara, Idavatsara, Anuvatsara, and Vatsara. Verses 8 and 9, I shall now describe the moon's movements. The moon travels around Bhumandala at 100,000 yojans above the sun disk, at a speed faster than the sun. It covers the sun's year in 2 fortnights, its months in 2 1/4 days, and its fortnight in 1 day. The waxing moon creates day for the gods and night for the Pitas, and the waning moon does the opposite. I'll repeat, the waxing moon creates day for the gods and night for the Pitas, and waning moon does the opposite, that is, night for the gods and day for the Pitas. It passes through 1 constellation per day. It is known as Jiva or life itself, and is the chief living being, as it provides the juice of life to plants. Verse 10, because of the moon's great potency, it represents the Supreme God, Lord. He is the presiding deity of the mind known as Manomaya. Because he invigorates plants and herbs, he is called Annamaya, and because he thus gives life to all living beings, he is called Amritmaya. He is pleasing to gods, pittas, humans, animals, birds, reptiles, plants, and all other creatures, and is called the Sarvamaya, all pervading. Verses 11 and 12. There are 28 important stars, 200,000 yojans above this moon. By Krishna's will, they are fixed to the wheel of time and thus rotate with Sumeru on their right at a different speed to the sun. A further 200,000 yojans above this group of stars is Venus, which moves at almost the same speed as the sun, with fast, medium, and slow speeds. Sometimes in front and sometimes behind the sun. It generally causes rain, nullifying the influence of other planets which are obstacles to rain. Hence, sages consider it auspicious for all beings. So, this was all about Venus. Verses 13 to 17. The moon's son is Mercury. Mercury is the sun, S-O-N, that is the offspring of moon. He travels 200,000 yojans above Venus. Mercury also travels sometimes behind the sun, sometimes in front of the sun, and sometimes alongside it. Sages consider it auspicious, but when it moves away from the sun, it forebodes extreme and fearful weather. Above Mercury by another 200,000 yojans is Mars. When not traveling retrograde, it passes through each zodiacal sign in 3 fortnights. Its influence is inauspicious, bringing suffering in the shape of adverse weather and other difficulties. Jupiter is further 200,000 yojans above Mars. It traverses through one sign of the zodiac in a year, and if not traveling retrograde, is favorable to the Brahmins. So Jupiter, it traverses one sign of the zodiac in a year, and when it is not traveling retrograde, it is favorable to the Brahmins. Above Jupiter by 200,000 yojans is Saturn, which traverses a single zodiacal sign in 30 months, taking 30 years to cover the entire zodiac. So, as we know, Saturn is a bit slow compared to others. It takes, or rather very slow compared to the other planets. It takes a whole of 30 months. It traverses one zodiacal sign in 30 months, and it takes 30 years to cover the entire zodiac, that is, all the signs. It is inauspicious for everyone. Finally, 1,100,000 yojans above Saturn are the 7 saintly sages, that is the Saptarishis, who always think of the welfare of all creatures, and they too orbit the Dhruvalok. So with this, we come to end of this chapter, Motion of the Planets. And I will read from chapter 23 as well, because it's only a short chapter. The title is The Cosmic Dolphin. Shukadev swept his arm in a great circle to reveal a vision of breathtaking beauty. An undulating landscape of vivid green and blue meadows, spread with multicolored flowers and dotted with charming lakes filled with the lotuses, among which swam swans and ducks of delightful hues. Tall trees swayed in a gentle breeze, sending showers of red and yellow blossoms swirling to the ground. Varieties of exotic birds played in their branches, their melodic calls mixing with the humming of black bees hovering over the fragrant blossoms. Above the treetops floated flower-bedecked aircraft bearing celestial couples, adorned with gems and golden ornaments. Siddhas, Gandharvas, Charans, Vidyadhars, and many other divine beings sported in delightful groves, playing celestial instruments as they sang the praises of Vishnu. In the distance, Parikshit glimpsed what would look like a great ocean of milk. The vision moved toward a great white palace with jeweled golden turrets with a charming garden. In a spacious courtyard stood many gods worshipping an effulgent person seated on rivers, and other celestials sang his praises. Verse 1, Shukadev said, My dear king, behold Dhruvalok, which lies 1,300,000 yojans above the planets of the seven sages. Uttanpad's son, King Dhruva, lives there until the end of this day of Brahma. Agni, Indra, Prajapati, Kashyap and Dharma assemble there to honor him. They circumambulate him, keeping him on their right side. By acting as a spiritual master, Dhruva supports the residents of the higher planets like Maharlok, which endure for a complete day of Brahma. Verses 2 and 3, by Krishna's will, Dhruvalok, the ever-shining pole star, acts as the pivot for all the other heavenly bodies. The inconceivable, all-powerful, invisible and unsleeping time factor causes them to rotate unceasingly around Dhruva's abode. Like bulls yoked together and tied to a post to thresh rice, they go around Dhruva in their respective orbits, some higher, some lower, endowed with extraordinary power because of their pious acts. The planets float in the sky as clouds bearing tons of water hang in the heavens, or as the great Shaena eagles, by the strength of their karma, fly high in the sky without ever falling. Krishna has fixed them to the machine of material nature, and thus the wind drives them around the pole star until the end of creation. Shukadev waved his hand, and in the sky above a vision appeared of the various planets in the form of their deities seated aboard various chariots tracing through the heavens. A panoramic vision of the cosmos then appeared, with its many colored stars, planets and constellations appearing suspended from the pole star like a gigantic dolphin. Verse 4, Shukadev said, This great cosmic machine, comprising all celestial bodies, resembles the form of a dolphin in the water. Some sages say this cosmic dolphin is an incarnation of Vasudev, Krishna, and yogis therefore meditate upon this visible form of the Lord. By his limitless mystic power, the cosmic order stays in its proper arrangement with no possibility of falling into disarray. So this is the cosmic machine resembles in the form of a dolphin in the water, comprising of all the celestial bodies. Verses 5 to 7, this cosmic dolphin has its head downward and the body coiled. In its tail is Dhruva's planet and those of the principal gods Brahma, Agni, Indra and Dharma, and the gods Dhata and Vidhata. Shukadev named all the constellations and the stars in their respective positions and the positions of the celestials, and Narayan, whom he said was the dolphin's heart. Verses 8 to 9, as the vision faded, Shukadev said, My dear king, this is the Shishumara, Vishnu's external feature. While gazing upon this form, one should worship it with the following mantra. Lord, you are the form of time and the resting place of all the planets in their various orbits. O Master of the Gods, Supreme Person, I offer you my respects and meditate upon you. By worshipping the Lord 3 times daily in this Shishumar form, which comprises all the gods, stars and planets, one is freed from all sinful reactions. So I think with this, the 23rd chapter, titled The Cosmic Dolphin, comes to an end, and next time we will be reading from chapter 24, The Subterranean Heavens. And this reading was from the Indira Gandhi International Airport, so please forgive the disturbances, and we should be always prepared to serve the Lord in all the circumstances. That is what I'm trying to learn, that whether I'm in my journey or at home or at work or anywhere, the service to Lord should continue, because Lord is everywhere. So thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.